Disclaimer: the contents within this video are supplemental to the safety lessons taught in class by the tech ed teacher and is not the definitive last word on the subject at hand. No person or student should attempt to follow any of the safety guidelines herein or use equipment until they receive safety training from the tech ed teacher within the shop itself and only after completing their safety demonstration and written test.
Alright, in this safety video we're going to talk about the right angle grinder or the angle grinder or the hand grinder. Could be any one of those names you're familiar with. But we're going to be looking at this guy right here. So to start, let's just talk about what it does. It has a shaft that spins and you put some sort of a abrasive wheel, sanding disc, wire wheel. You put a tool or an attachment onto it and it spins very quickly and it does a task you wish it to do. So there's different types of tasks. So this is a thin cutting wheel. Okay, so a cutting wheel, abrasive cutoff wheel, a zip cut wheel, many different names, but it's used for cutting. That's it. Not for grinding, just for cutting. This one here has a wire wheel on it. It's a twisted knotted wire wheel and it's flat. You can get them in cups in different shapes and sizes. Again, has only one task, not for grinding, not for cutting, just for cleaning metal and putting a finish on it. You can do different types of finishes as well, like an orange peel finish or something on aluminum. We have this is called a flap wheel or a sanding disc or a blending disc. It's got sandpaper glued in a circle and it's just sandpaper powder. Another type of sanding disc is this hook and loop or Velcro backing pad. Threads on there and then it takes hook and loop sanding pads. They're really only good for wood and maybe aluminum, but it's really easy for these hook and loop stick-on pads to just tear up. Not really much use in the metal shop, but it is an attachment that we have used. And the main use for a grinder is with a grinding wheel. It's very thick and you use it for grinding metal. Welders use them almost every day, all day, and just one of the more handy tools to have. So let's talk about safety. Before we even pick up a grinder, we want to make sure that we are safe. So I'm wearing a leather welding jacket because the sparks here are going to hit you. If they hit you long enough in the same spot, it's going to burn you or light your clothes on fire. I've got my safety glasses, but I'm also going to wear a face shield because if this abrasive wheel shatters, it's going to shoot those bits and pieces all over the place. If they hit her face, it's going to really do some damage. So face shield to protect her face. It's going to make a lot of noise, so we have these earmuffs for hearing protection or maybe earplugs. Remember that these ones can be worn under the neck. The strap can go under the neck, on top of the head like normal, or behind the neck, whatever works for you. I tend to wear it underneath my chin or in front of my neck. It works best with the face shield. We're going to wear gloves with the grinder. You absolutely must wear gloves, leather welding gloves, to use the grinder. It is unsafe to do so without. Even with gloves, these wheels can go through the gloves very quickly, so we need to wear them. I'm not wearing open-toed shoes. I'm wearing welder's pants and I'm wearing welding boots, but I would also put on the chaps and the spats. Put a picture up on the screen of what they look like. There you go. And yeah, so safety gear, check. Let's check our tool now. First tool we're going to look at using is the grinding wheel because it's the most common. And first thing with any corded power tool, check and make sure that the cord is not damaged. No exposed wires, that would be a problem. It looks good. Looking at the grinding disc, we want to check the grinding disc for damage. So we want to look for cracks, chips, dings, chunks missing, anything. Check both sides, spin the disc, make sure it's good. Looks pretty good to me. We got a guard on here. Okay, the guard must be in place. You are never allowed to use a grinder without a guard in place. Absolutely, positively must have a guard. All right, and that guard needs to be positioned so it covers your hand. Okay, so it protects your hand. These handles can be moved to the other side of the grinder if you so choose, but then the guard needs to be moved as well. For right-handed people, it's just keep it on the left here. I'm a left-handed user, but when I grew up, you couldn't switch them, so I just learned to grind right-handed. So guard is in place, handle is in place, cord is protected, and we've checked the thing for dings. Should also check and make sure that the switch is on and off. We never want to plug a tool in if we don't check the switch to make sure that it is off. Some grinders are equipped with a dead man switch, which means when you let it go, it turns it off. Other grinders can stay switched on when you let go. Okay, and this one used to have a little black button right here where there's a hole. Okay, and that would lock it in the on position. We've since removed them so that it cannot be locked in the on position for safety. While we're at it, we'll check the cutting wheel for damage, because we're going to use this one as well. Okay, looking for damage in the cord. Okay, check the wheel. Looks good. Guard is secure and in place. Handle is as well. All right, so we're ready to do some grinding. So I'm going to go and grab an extension cord, and I'll be right back, and we'll get going. All right, so first things first, we need to put some material. We're going to just grind on this piece of scrap tubing here. First things first, we're going to clamp it down in the vise because we're never going to use it without it clamped down. So clamp it down, good and secure. Got to get my PPE in place. So face shield, hearing protection, gloves, and as we already checked our tools, they're good to go, so I can plug them in. All right, we're ready to grind. Now when I grind, I want to make sure I'm not throwing the sparks across the room, hitting everybody. So you got to be mindful of the sparks that are thrown off of this because they can fly everywhere and hit people. So face shield down, hold it securely with two hands, turn it on. Alright, so when you're watching me grind, what you should have noticed is that I was holding it fairly flat, not on an angle, and I was going slowly. There's no need to rush with the grinder. It's not going to grind any faster. Just go slow and careful and do what you got to do to get the job done. Alright, cutting disc. Now there's some specific safety with the cutting wheel. The first thing is that there's only one way to hold the cutting wheel. It is with the handle facing off this direction. You're holding it like this. You are not reaching across the wheel. This I would be reaching across the wheel, which would be bad. So I want to hold it like this, okay? This handle held in my right hand. This hand turns it on. And what I'm going to do is when it's time to cut, I'm just going to position this on my metal. Just above it, I'm going to slowly lower it into the metal. I'm just going to let the weight of the tool do the cutting. I'm not going to push. I'm not going to force it. All right, that would be very bad. Just let the tool do the cutting. When you are cutting, you're committed to the cut. You cannot turn, you cannot change, you cannot curve your cut. It's a straight cut. If you try and do anything other than let it cut straight, the disc is going to shatter. So just keep the same direction that you're cutting. So it looks like this. we go. Let's see, piece of metal. And just like a chop saw, anything cut with a zip cut disc, it's basically a mini chop saw. It's going to be sharp, it's going to have burrs, it's going to be hot. So we want to be mindful of all those things.